Check 1 2.
A lot of stuff here.
Welcome card up there? Yes.
What's the welcome card?
The thing on the left.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Are you doing the pre-service?
Go ahead.
I don't know. Well,
I
you
can.
said 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I'll do it.
No, do it right now. We can
Right now?
start.
I'm going to tell him I'm going to do it right now. You want to do it right now?
Huh? Yeah, no, I already asked him. He's
Okay.
fine. He's ready to go. You can ring the bell first.
Let us now settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of quiet, to be followed by music of Mats Bergström, Why Me, played by our music director and pianist, Matthew Johnson. You are also invited at this time to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow. On this second Sunday of Advent, we light our chalice with the words of Pema Chodron, a Buddhist nun. If we want there to be peace in the world, we have to be brave enough to soften what is rigid in our hearts, to find the soft spot and stay with it. We have to have that kind of courage and take that kind of responsibility. That's the true practice of peace. May this time of waiting inspire our courage. May we find the soft spot in the pressures of this season and stay with it as we discern our way forward. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be at ease and discover the true practice of peace within us so that there might be peace in the world.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Diane Mann, and I am one of your worship associates this morning. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people who thrive and remain active as the Nipmuc tribe. If you would like to learn more about the Nipmuc community, please see the brochure in the foyer. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new or visiting with us for the first time this morning. We are delighted that you are here. We hope that you will join us in Fellowship Hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries and programs of this congregation, please do not hesitate to ask. We invite you to fill out one of the cards found in the pews. These cards can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of the ushers or greeters this morning. For those of you joining us online this morning, we offer you a very special welcome. For safety purposes and so that we might come to know you better as you are able, please place your name on your video feed. Please take a moment to sign on one of the attendance clipboards that are now being circulated, though you are not obligated to sign. We appreciate your information and will use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud by the minister, please print it on an index card in the pew and drop it in the collection plate when it comes around. These cards will also be posted outside the minister's office to be shared with our friends at other services. For those online, you can place a joy or sorrow in the chat, and we will share it during this time in the service. In the foyer, there are listening devices, large print service programs, and hymnals for those who may find their assistance beneficial. Please see one of our ushers who will be pleased to assist you. I invite you now to turn your technology to worship mode. Finally, please note the announcements on the back of your program. There will be time for short verbal announcements following the postlude. We are so glad you are here and hope that this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. I have a special request this morning from the Human Resources Committee. We are looking for people to join our team. The Human Resources Committee does a wide variety of things to help support Aaron and the staff. They include making compensation recommendations to our board, serving as a liaison to the UUA regarding employee benefits like health and dental insurance, developing policies, etc. If you have a background in human resources or management, knowledge of Google, and some interest in what we do, please talk with me, Beth Posner-Waldron, or Shirley Trait. Thanks. And now, the moment the children have been waiting for. It is time for the basket bearers to come forth and collect the change that you've all been waiting to give.
For those of you who are new with us this morning, this is a weekly opportunity for our Religious Exploration Program participants to contribute to the ongoing ministry of the Emergency Fund. So if you have change that you'd like to contribute, please raise your hand, and one of our basket bearers will be certain to find you very quickly. Thank you. And when you're done, you can bring your baskets forward to me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Other back. Whoop. Thank you. Thank you. You want to put that one right on top of there for me? Thank you. Victor, come up with me. Oh, now in peace. Come on up. Now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. Thank you. Spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Our opening words this morning are by Kyle Johnson. Mystery of the universe, ground of our very being. Truly it is said that you make the sun rise and you make the life-giving rains fall on both the just and the unjust. And in that way, yours is an abounding grace, and we give our thanks. But it is also true that none of us are ever really spared, neither the just nor the unjust. For try as we might, we are still all subject to the challenges of pain, death, and separation, to the inherent impermanence of our material existence. And yet, the fact that no one is spared suggests that neither are we truly alone, since we all partake in this ephemeral reality. So may the fact of our shared human condition foster empathy, compassion, and mutual loving support. May the stories of all those that have gone before us, ordinary flesh and blood people just like us, remind us of the deep reserves of courage and strength that lie within each and every one of us. And may the transient and ephemeral nature of life compel us to savor every moment, while also reminding us, particularly in our most trying times, that this too shall pass. May it be so. Amen. I invite you to pick up your teal hymnal and turn to hymn number 1009.
Let us be reminded once again that we are a no-fault harmony congregation, but that with this song we begin with the lowest voices, those who have not yet had enough caffeine. You know who you are. And we do it this way. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. Actually, breathe in and breathe out. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Listen to each other. Breathe in, breathe breathe in. Now we start with the other one. I breathe in peace when I breathe out. I breathe out love when I breathe in. I breathe in peace when I breathe out. I breathe out. Now those who are caffeinated, when I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out. I breathe out love when I breathe in. I breathe in peace when I breathe out. I breathe out. Now everyone, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Oh, you are so lovely. Please be seated. Andrea. We're going to have you come first. How's that?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Cruz. My children are not with me today, so hopefully I can get through this without interruption. I am a member of the Committee on Right Relations, or CORE. On behalf of CORE, and as part of this wonderful congregation, I'm here to ask again, how are we doing? This month, our children in religious exploration classes are reflecting on the theme of choosing hope. In connection to choosing hope, I will reflect on the covenant point that states, "We, the members and friends of the UUCW, covenant to sustain and support a courageous and caring community by fostering social justice and positive transformation in our community and in the world at large." To start, I think it's important to define hope. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, I have summarized that hope means to desire with the expectation of fulfillment. In order to achieve fulfillment, we must trust the process to reach the desired outcome. How do we do that? For me, I speak confidently that this community here at UUCW allows many of us to be in a safe space that allows process to happen. Each individual here makes a difference in lifting each other up and allowing us to dream bigger than we ever thought we could, together. Our community here brings people together from so many different backgrounds, experiences, and curiosities, which I believe is the foundation for choosing hope for ourselves as individuals, this community, and the world at large. It starts with a place of safety where our desires and visions for our future can grow into realities. Before looking up the definition of hope, I asked my 5-year-old what hope meant to him. He didn't understand the question. I explained the best I could, such an abstract concept, and he was able to tell me that he looks forward to getting his next belt in Taekwondo and hopes to master the last kick he needs to qualify for the belt test in a couple weeks. I praised his understanding and challenged him to think bigger. I gave many examples, including hoping that people and countries would not fight one another, rather take time to learn and understand each other to resolve problems. Then I asked him again, after this talk, what does hope mean to you? And he took a moment and said, kindness. That people would choose to be nice to each other and tell them that they can do it, just like how I keep reminding him that he can get this last kick and test for his new belt. That is hope, and that is what we do for each other here. We choose over and over to support each other, individuals and groups, to keep hoping for justice and positive transformation that we want to see and can maybe even envision in our future. With that being said, please take a moment to find the insert that was with your order of service. I'm not sure if it's possible, but perhaps we can post a link in the chat for our online members this morning. You will notice that on one side is a word cloud. There in the back is a word cloud that brings together some of the feedback that we received after our last month's challenge to share how you feel, how we as a congregation measure up to the principle of fostering fellowship and enjoying each other in our community. And now I ask today, how are we doing? If you flip over that insert, please find a space to share your thoughts and feelings about today's core message, sustaining and supporting a courageous and caring community by fostering social justice and positive transformation here and in the world at large. You can use this space to share an anecdote about how this congregation has or has not upheld this area of the covenant, to request support from CORE for interpersonal or congregational issues, or reach out directly to a CORE member by using the email at the bottom of the sheet. For those online, you can find the handout on our website or email us directly at CORR, C-O-R-R, at UUCW.org. The email can, I'm not sure if we can actually post the email in the chat as well for our online presence. We are attempting to make this interactive process more accessible to all as we continue to learn the needs of this congregation moving forward. The slips can be placed in the collection basket when it goes around, or in the basket provided at Fellowship Hall during coffee hour. Thank you.
I will offer an apology to our online folks that I don't think we were able to post the handout before the service. We will certainly include it in the newsletter this week. If you want to send a private message to UUCW online in the chat and include any thoughts that you have on this particular aspect of our covenant of right relations, we will certainly maintain anonymity and include those comments as we bring all of them together in preparation for our next opportunity to report back to the congregation. One of my favorite books is a book that I haven't quoted in quite a while by Ajahn Brahm entitled, "Who Ordered This Truckload of Dung?" The Buddhist monk writes in his book, "Most people in Australia have a garden with their house, but only a few know how to find peace in their garden. For the rest, the garden is just another place for work. So I encourage those with a garden to nurture its beauty by working a while and nurture their hearts by just sitting peacefully in the garden, enjoying nature's gifts." So I want to stop here and ask you to think, which one of these gardeners are you? The first gardener thinks this is a jolly good idea. So they decide to get all of the little jobs out of the way first, and then they will allow themselves, and I love that, allow themselves, a few moments of peace in their garden. After all, the lawn does need mowing, the flowers could do with a good watering, the leaves need raking, the bushes need pruning, and the path needs sweeping. Of course, it takes up all of their free time just to get a fraction of those little jobs out of the way. Their work is never finished, so they never get to have a few minutes of peace. Have you noticed, he writes, ever noticed that in our culture the only people who rest in peace are found in a cemetery? The second gardener thinks they are much smarter than the first. Oh, you know who you are. They put away the rakes and the watering cans and they sit out in the garden reading a magazine. Probably the big glossy pictures of nature. But that's enjoying your magazine, not finding peace in your garden. The third gardener puts away all of the gardening tools, all the magazines, newspapers, and radios, and just sits in peace in their garden for about 2 seconds. Then they start thinking, that lawn really does need mowing, and those bushes should be pruned soon, and if I don't water those flowers within a few days, they may die. And maybe a nice gardenia would go well in the corner. Yes, with one of those ornamental bird baths out front. I could pick one up at the nursery. That is enjoying thinking and planning, writes Ajahn Brahm. Again, there's no peace of mind here. The fourth gardener, the wise one, considers I've worked long enough and now it's time to enjoy the fruit of my work, to listen for the peace. So even though the lawn needs mowing and the leaves need raking, blah, 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 blah. Not now. This way we find the wisdom to enjoy the garden even though it's not perfect. I want you to think about this. Gardening is not one that comes to mind so much this time of the year, but you all are planning for holidays, right? So many things to do, right? The house needs clean, food needs to be thought about, presents, oh my God, presents need to be purchased or made and then wrapped. And, you know, everyone needs to get dressed for whatever celebration they're going to, and, you know, on and on and on and on. And I want you to remember that we are human beings, not human doings. Brahm continues, perhaps there's an old Japanese monk hiding behind one of the bushes, ready to jump out and tell us that our messy old garden really isn't perfect, or really is perfect. Instead, if we look at the work we have already done instead of focusing on the work that remains, we might understand that what's done has been finished. But if we focus exclusively on the faults, on the things that need to be fixed, on the things yet to be done, as in the case of, he tells this wonderful story about building a brick wall in the monastery, and there are like 2 bricks that are out of place. I love this story. And then, you know, people come through to admire the handiwork, and he takes people around the other side of the monastery so they don't stare at the wall. And finally, you know, a group of monks from another monastery, I think, are coming through, and they make their way around the other side, and they're commenting on how beautiful the wall is, and Brahm is like, really? Don't you see the couple of bricks up there that are out of place? And the monks just sort of laugh at him and go, and don't you see the hundreds of other bricks that aren't? That's a lesson worth remembering, isn't it? He says, the wise gardener enjoys 15 minutes of peace in the perfect imperfection of nature. Not thinking, not planning, and not, this is really important, not feeling guilty. We all deserve to get away and have some peace, he says. And others deserve the peace of us getting out of their way. Then, after getting our crucial life-saving 15 minutes of peace out of its way, we carry on with our gardening duties. Finally, he says, when we understand how to find such peace in our garden, we will know how to find peace anytime, anywhere. Especially, we will know how to find peace in the garden of our heart.
even though at times we might think that it is such a mess with so much to be done. I got about 4 hours sleep last night. My brother and I gave each other the gift for our October birthdays of going to see Bella Fleck and the Flecktones at the Schubert Theater in Boston. So not only were Bella and the Flecktones there, but there was a trio of tube and throat singers that joined them for the evening. I can't even begin to describe the experience of eclectic classical jazz banjo fused with the horn player from the Dave Matthews Band and Victor Wooten on bass and Future Man on drum kit and 3 tube and throat singers singing Christmas music, among other things. And as powerful as that experience was, the more powerful experience for me that evening was the hour and a half before the concert when my brother and I made our way to a Dunkin' Donuts down by the theater and sat over coffee and had one of those conversations you wish you could have more than once in your lifetime. I looked at him and I said, you know, I have been needing to say to you for a very long time that I understand that you had a very different experience with our parents than I did. And I wish that I had had the courage to say that to you much earlier in life. And I wish that the moment that our father had said to you, no, you have to go to college, you can't go to art school, that I had had the courage to stand with you and say, get out of his way. And we began to talk about our parents. It's that adulting conversation you pray you get to at some point in your life with your siblings or with other people in your family, where you can acknowledge the glorious incompleteness of your parents or the generation before you, and you can take seriously all of the imperfections, and then hold in the other hand all of the things you continue to admire and emulate about those people, and come to a deeper, more profound kind of togetherness, because you're not triggering each other. You're not guilting each other. You're simply being together and saying, and what did you see? And what did you experience? What do you wish would have happened in that moment? Did you ever wonder whether or not Mom and Dad had problems they never talked about? What did you suspect was going on? One of these very powerful moments, and I say this to you because I think that what Ajahn Chah is talking about when he talks about being in the garden is the Buddhist notion of when things come into your consciousness, when things come into your mind or your heart, part of the discipline, the meditative discipline, is to be able to hold them without them holding you. To be able to turn them around, to be able to acknowledge what they have done and what they have meant and how they have been a disappointment sometimes. And then let them go. My brother and I have rarely taken time to simply be together, be in the garden. What happened in that moment was that we sat over coffee and opened up about our different experiences. And I'm forever grateful because, you know, the concert was sort of the cake and the icing on the experience. Another Buddhist thinker, Ajahn Jatapalo, has written on this topic of patience and healing. He says, I've been listening to a few of the Bhikkhu Bodhi's talks on metta, loving kindness, he explains that in many practice situations, metta can often be used with an external, outgoing energy, making a genuine wish for other people to be happy. And that could have been the focus of the conversation. How do we make each other happy? But instead it was, how do we communicate the integrity of our desire to simply be with someone without having to fix, apologize, or push aside the history? However, writes the Buddhist monk, there is also the internal response that can occur for us when we express metta in this way. He says, I was surprised when Bhikkhu Bodhi mentioned the word khanti, patience, which is very closely related to the word metta, loving kindness. I hadn't recognized that before. I have given a few talks on metta, and when I do, I often receive questions from people concerned with external circumstances, such as, it's so painful to be with a person, or when I'm in this situation, it's really difficult, or how do you deal with that? Most of the questions, he says, are directed toward the practice of loving kindness as a method of sending metta outward. But we can also, he says, turn inward rather than outward. This is where Bhikkhu Bodhi says patience comes in. We can learn to turn toward the pain we feel, toward the dukkha we are experiencing in these difficult circumstances, and to hold that dukkha with a quality of patience. Another Buddhist sage once said that we often think of patience as waiting for change. I will endure this situation, gritting my teeth until it changes. He says, certainly we might want a painful situation to change, but with true patience, according to the Buddhist sage, it's more like thinking, I will be with this situation, period. In other words, there's no expectation that the situation will change or get better. By learning to turn toward our own suffering and simply be with it, we are staying at the level of feeling. We're not getting into the story of a proliferation or creating a self around it. Someone says something to us and we become angry or feel uncomfortable. Instead of going outward, as we typically do with loving kindness, we can go inward. So when we feel pain in a situation, we can first recognize it, which is the act of just simply holding it. Then we can move toward the painful feeling and explore it, and if we can refrain from getting into the story, without wanting behind the feeling, it will be much easier to experience the feeling without wanting to change it. A bit like that conversation my brother and I had. Tell me what happened to you. What do you think about this? Not to convince each other of right or wrongness, but with a genuine curiosity, like we're holding some kind of precious object that we both relate to in different ways, and turning it around and turning it over and being amazed at the different experience each of us can have looking at the same thing. It's merely a physical sensation or a mental perception, and we do not need to add anything to it or to try to make it go away. When we stay with painful feeling in this way, we are experiencing khanti, true patience, says Jatapalo. Last week, we explored the meaning of waiting as an active discipline, or preparation, if you will. This week, as we honor Bodhi Day, which honors the enlightenment of the Buddha, the idea of patience helps us understand the internal work necessary to actively wait without eating ourselves alive. consumed by, and see if you recognize any of these emotions during this era. Anger, rage, pain, suffering, the desire for change that often motivates our preparation for what's coming. I often wonder how different our experience of family might be if we encountered each other, especially during the holiday season, with an ethic of patience such as Jatapalo describes. Can you imagine sitting at your family meal with the people that you have dreaded coming to dinner, right, for months, and actually saying to them, I really want to know what you think, but more importantly, I want to know what you experience. Not tell me why so we can argue and debate about this, but tell me what you experience in the world. Help me understand you, and I will do the same for me and you. What would it be like to have that dinner on a gathering, and when triggered by something that someone says about our past or about the present which rubs us the wrong way, we simply sat with it? And instead of being consumed in anger or frustration or the desire to repel what has been said, we were curious and turned it over in our minds with our hearts and gifted it back to the one who triggered with response and gratitude for having given us the moment of insight about ourselves. And if you think about it, this is the best active definition of the common response. Isn't that interesting? Oh, I know what you think when you hear people go, interesting. Like, that sucks, but I'm not going to tell you that, right? It's a wonderful internet conversation that helps out here. One commentator writes, I've noted over the years when someone says interesting piece or something similar, it inevitably precedes a lot of negative commentary, and I've learned the word thrown around as the only comment as in interesting, which also feels like a subtle indication that the person either doesn't like whatever is happening, whether it be music, conversation, or something read, or maybe just doesn't get it. Interesting becomes a backheaded compliment. The response comes, it's long been the case in academia when you say that's interesting, it often means the opposite, namely that it isn't interesting at all. But that's not the only or dominant message used in academia, they write. Indeed, interesting usually implies there's more to be said. Sometimes interesting means something more like, I'm not quite sure what I think, but there's definitely something worth contemplating here. You can still take that as a backhanded way or as a person not getting it, but it might be that it's taking time to register. And I, as a gregarious extrovert, I need to remember this all the time, especially with my beloved, who is the introvert I'm not, right? So if I start a conversation and ask for an immediate response and I get something back like, which is the verbal form of interesting, instead of getting pissed like I did for the first decade of our marriage, I now understand that what she's doing is she's trying to figure out how she feels about that, what she thinks. Maybe she's coming up with a different idea. And what I need to do is walk away for a little while and then re-engage the conversation at a time when she goes, you know, when you said that, I think this. Instead of forcing her into a conversation that she's not comfortable having in the moment. How many of you have family like that? Yep. This is where meditation teachers have become helpful for beginning a practice of sitting. I've been taught over the years that when sitting, if something comes into my mind and I realize my attention has been captured, it is possible to create enough mental distance to experience the thought as a thing, not as something consuming me. And when I realize that I have the capacity to hold the thought as opposed to be held by it, I also have the ability to set it down and move on. Interesting. Eventually, I've been told the practice allows one to move through the rising and falling of thoughts and feelings like one is floating on them instead of swimming in them, right? Or drowning, as some of us might feel. And a different kind of experience is possible then when we're able to relax into the world and take it all in and receive and experience the beauty that is available to us at any given moment and the wisdom that can arise from such experiences. Ajahn Brahm, of Truckload of Dung fame, tells the story of being a student, and he would spend most of his summer vacations walking and camping in the highlands of Scotland, delighted in the solitude and the beauty and the peace of the Scottish mountains. Anyone been to the Scottish mountains? Can you attest to this? Yes? He says, one memorable afternoon, I was ambling by the ocean along a narrow road which wound along the headlands and the inlets of the far north. He said, the warm, bright sun was like a spotlight for the extraordinary beauty that surrounded me. The moorland was an endless sweep of velvety grass in the fresh green of springtime. The cliffs had been sculpted like cathedrals, soaring high above the swirling sea. The ocean was the blue of late evening as it scattered with fairy lights, sparkling and twinkling in the sun rays. And the small green and brown rock islands seemed to surf on the waves as far as the haze line of the horizon. Even the gulls and the terns were gliding and wheeling in euphoria, I was certain. It was nature showing its finest in one of the most scenic parts of the world on a day of sunny glory. I was skipping along in spite of my heavy backpack with I was joyous without a care, high on the inspiration from nature. Ahead of me, I saw a small car parked by the roadside next to the cliff. Immediately, I imagined that his driver had also become overwhelmed by the beauty of the day and had stopped to drink in the ambrosia. But when I got close enough to the car to see through its back window, I was disappointed and dismayed. The single occupant of the vehicle, a middle-aged man, was reading a newspaper. The newspaper was so big that it blocked the whole view of the world around him. Instead of seeing the ocean and the cliff and the islands and the grassland, all he could see was war and politics and scandals and sport. That newspaper was wide, yet very thin. Only a few millimeters on the other side of that black, dreary newsprint lay a pure, rainbow-colored elation of nature. I thought to take out a pair of scissors from my pack and cut a small hole in the paper so he could see what was on the other side of the article on economy that he was reading. But he was a big, hairy Scotsman, and I was a scrawny, underfed student, so I left him read about the world while I danced on into it. He finished just saying, our minds are mostly occupied with the sort of stuff that fills newspapers. Wars in our relationships, politics, in family and at work, personal scandals which upset us so, and the sport of our carnal pleasures. If we do not know how to put down that newspaper in our mind from time to time, if that is what we are obsessed with, if that is all we know, then we will never experience the unsullied joy and peace of nature at its finest. And he says, we will never know wisdom. The art of putting down the newspaper in our mind is the practice of meditation and remembering our capacity for loving kindness. And sometimes that meditation comes in the form of a conversation over coffee. It is this, in a way, that is celebrated on Bodhi Day. It is a way of being released from the fermentation of becoming and the fermentation of ignorance. To gift ourselves with the loving kindness which we so often desire to gift to the world, to float on all that occupies and distracts us, and for at least a moment to soak in the garden of delight or the seashore of the soul. On this Bodhi Day, might we too take time to not just do something, but sit there. Amen, and blessed be. So I have another story to tell you. And this week, I was visited by an angel. Yeah, okay, fine. Go ahead, jibe me, see if I care, but listen carefully. I got a call one afternoon. It was Thursday morning, and I was headed out the door in another hour to go to Thursday Cafe, where we fed, I think it was 75 folks again this week. And the voice on the other end introduced herself, and she said, "Do you remember me?" I said, "I absolutely do." She said, "Remember that last year I brought you handmade scarves that you were able to use and give to people. Would you like more?" I said, "I would love more." And the timing could not be more perfect. Remember, Thursday into Friday, it dropped to 4 degrees in Worcester, right? And so she said, "Well, I have more scarves. Would you like me to bring them to you?" I said, "How about I come get them? Because I'm going to be on my way in a moment to go down to Thursday Cafe, and I need to be able to hand them out today. Like, you have no idea how timely your gift is." And so I showed up at her house, her apartment. She said, "I only have a few this year." And I said, "Well, how many do you have?" She said, 140. She said, "It takes," now I want you to hear this, "It takes me an hour and a half to make one." Think about that. She sits in front of her television. She says, "My husband died a year ago. So how I occupy myself is when I'm sitting in front of the television reading, I have my little hand loom, and I just make scarves. And I want them to go to people who can actually use them." I said, "Do you realize how much of an angel you are, especially in this moment when we're about to go into an Arctic freeze? Do you understand that these, gifts that you're giving are actually going to save someone's life tonight?" And she teared up and she said, "I'm so glad. I want to be able to contribute something to the world." And I thought to myself, oh my God, I am in the presence of an angel that does not know they are an angel. That was the biggest good news for me this week, was to be able to take those scarves. Not only I took half of them to Worcester Fellowship and handed them out there, and then I took half to the emergency shelter that night and handed them out to people. And I think about this congregation and what it's doing. I know that Robin and the youth group are about to do the same. They're going to go kindness bomb the Common later on this evening with the things that we have collected. But, bombing is not exactly what the phrase I would use. I'd like to think that we are in an offertory kind of a consistent offertory where we are gifting what we have to the world. And that, to me, is the best news of all, that we continue to inspire people to allow us to be the modality through which people find safe place, warmth, kindness, and perhaps saving their lives. And it is in service to that vision that we offer each other an opportunity to participate in an offertory each week, so that we continue this ritual of gifting in ways that continue the ministry and mission of this congregation. So I invite you to be as generous as you can and recognize that there is no gift too small. This time our morning offering will be received.
All right, you know what to do. The microphone is here. You form lines on either side of the sanctuary. You speak very briefly, telling us first who you are, so that everyone else can enjoy this moment. And then light a candle if you so desire. And if you're online during this time of joys and sorrows, we invite you to place your joy or sorrow in the chat, and we will be glad to share that in our midst as well. Are there joys or sorrows to be shared this day?
I don't know what happened to my voice. Hi, I'm Paul. You know that. And a couple of things that I really related to your sermon today, because my older brother, like, I would say, Mom did this, Mom did that. That wasn't the mom I knew. So I found that very fascinating. And the other thing with my mom was that usually Thanksgiving Eve or Christmas Eve, she decided to wallpaper. And this was kind of bizarre. And I'd go through the thing and do everything and think of being a good son. And you always get to one spot where it doesn't match, like the bricks. Yeah. And what happened was that, and I usually try to put it behind a door or something, and she'd walk in, look at the door and say, "Don't match." But lastly, and this is kind of a little announcement. What's going on? An announcement is that I'm having a tree trimming party or gathering at my house in the afternoon. So if people want to help out, I mean, it's not a big tree, but I got some snacks and that. So I'd like to, I think 2 people may be coming, but I'd like to see a little bit more. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alana. To most of you, I'm probably a stranger, but I don't feel like a stranger. I was raised in this church, and my daughter's here today. I got old. I have an 8-year-old,
God, help
almost
me.
8-year-old daughter, 10-year-old, almost 10-year-old son. It's crazy. Anyway, my
She was
daughter's
all
here.
of this high when I arrived, okay?
Anyway, point is, my daughter's here today, getting a sliver of what this community is, and I know from my life and from growing up that that's just a wonderful thing. So I'm really glad she's here, and I'm glad I'm here.
Good morning. My name is Wes, and my joy today is my daughter's 25th birthday. Very excited for her. It's interesting, as we think about milestones like this, I found myself sitting in my chair having coffee, and I kept going over all the things that I've done wrong as a father. It's interesting as we as human beings, we tend to focus on our failures instead of our successes. And if you look at them, most likely you have a lot more successes than failures. And I'd really like to focus more on the successes.
Amen. Okay.
Diane made these for us. That's it.
I'm Skylar. You may know me better as Moira Rous's daughter, and I hope that my joy today can contribute to helping Aaron feel like he is well-aged, because I, yesterday, just moved into my first apartment.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm down in Providence, Rhode Island, to be right next to my job, and yes, that does mean I did drive an hour to be here today. And it is so much nicer knowing that it is an occasional voluntary thing rather than 3 to 5 days a week and mandatory.
Thank you. Hey, Dave.
My name is David Macheski. Just came back recently to the congregation. I said, well, I have a joy, sorrow, I guess. Joy is, did see a really lovely production of The Nutcracker. It was kindergarten adult performing arts center out in Pittsburgh. It was just terrific. I can't say enough good things about it. Concern, it was kind of somewhat moved by Aaron's reflection this morning. I got an older brother, one of 2 siblings, is going on the 8th year of incarceration in state of Illinois. And I don't know, yeah, I wish I could have as good a communication with him, but he's in, just hoping we find a really good place for him to parole in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Fran.
I just want to say that during the polio epidemic ages ago, my father got it and was paralyzed from here to there. Our church gave us so much food and was so kind to us. I think it's important to remember the people who don't have food, and we should do all we can to help them out.
Excellent.
Hi, Barry Brigham, this time before. Yes, the reflection was amazing. I want to acknowledge Paul Maher for, many times he gets up here and talks about like the birthdays or the anniversaries of the people that he remembers and what he particularly remembers about those people. And some of the things of joy and some of the things of sorrow, and reflecting back on the relationship with brothers and sisters. For me, 13, 14 years ago, when my mother, for the second time in 3 years, got a bout of sepsis. Went into the hospital for a while, eventually went into rehab. The day she was going to get out of rehab and then we were going to go pick her up, they brought her back to the hospital and she had a bad case of sepsis, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was the first one to arrive, and she had oxygen on. And I stayed with her for a couple of hours, and then, yes, folks, I had to go to work. And nobody was there yet, and I went to work. And I was there for 3 or 4 hours, and I got back, and my brother, as I walked in, said, "The decision's been made, we're gonna take her off so that she will pass. We're gonna take her off all fluids and all nutrition, and she will pass." And I've never actually ever, I just, wait a minute, I thought that was gonna be a decision with all of us, and the decision's made, it's over. Okay. And my brother and sister made that decision, and the guilty part about that for me is when I went to my mother, she looked at me with her oxygen mask on and said, "Did you go to work?" I had to. And it took her, after they took her off of nutrition, it took her 12 days to pass. And we sat there for 24 hours and just watched it happen. So thanks for the acknowledgement of bringing it back, and I'm hoping that I can have that conversation with the brother and sister, however it turns out.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lenny from Worcester, fellow UU. I have a sorrow today. Our family dog passed away yesterday. My best friend, Winnie, she was a 70-pound mutt, tri-colored, goofy girl, and the family alarm clock. First thing in the morning, she would whap her tail against the bedroom wall and bark outside our door. We grew to find this as an endearing part of having her in our lives. She came into my life almost 10 years ago as a skittish, fearful rescue dog who became a well-rounded life companion that was there during the hard times and also shared in many joys. Marriage to my wife, Amanda, our move to Worcester, and the birth of our daughter, Ellie. She will certainly be missed and joins her friend Louise, who passed this past April. We loved our pups wholeheartedly, and they made our house a home. We knew it was Winnie's time when a coyote passed into the front yard yesterday morning. She got one last chance to protect our yard. The coyote was the sign that the pack was calling her home. Goodbye, wood duck. Give your pet some extra love today for us. Thank you.
My name is Andrew Wilkin, and I have ADD. So what that means is that when Aaron was talking about going to the Bella Fleck show, my brain said, I wonder if Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory actually did Tuvan throat singing. And by the time I came back to what you were saying, I realized I had missed things. So my joy today is that you have a podcast. And I can listen to this tomorrow as I'm taking my walk and, oh my God, I missed something again, back 30 seconds and listen to it again.
Andrew, I have to do the same thing for my own sermons, so it's okay.
Me too for his. I'm Mark Schlesinger. We were driving in today and was reminded on the radio that this is the 84th anniversary of Pearl Harbor attack. And it just brought back right away a lot of good and bad memories. The good, somebody saying, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. People who sacrificed their lives, really, not just by dying, but by leaving their children, their husbands, their wives, and who lost a lot, and it affected them for the rest of their lives. My father was an example of one who had a really hard time getting back into his life. So I just wanted to be thinking about that today, the good and the bad. The bad is really bad, and the good is also really good.
All right, I'll try and keep this short. I'm Diane. You haven't heard enough about Cuban throat singing. So Matt actually knows how to do it. I can't, but I have a great story. I love Bella Fleck. I actually owned a CD, and when you started talking about Bella Fleck and the Christmas CD and the Cuban throat singers, I was like, oh my God, I know that CD. And this is what happened at my house when I brought the Bella Fleck Christmas album into my house. It will never be forgotten because I put it on the CD player and my whole family went, what the hell is that? Because they do it in the background of Jingle Bells. So that CD went to Matt. I don't know if he still has it because it was banned from my house. And it now has come full circle.
Couple of online joys and sorrows this morning. Barry, Tom Pierce writes, Barry did an excellent job as worship associate this morning. So did Diane. Stephen Murphy writes, my brother is recovering post-transplant. Grateful for the afternoons we had to connect over coffee at Culpepper's this past summer and having time to reflect on our talks now. And Nancy Freiberg writes, my sorrow is that my husband, Jonathan Mathis, passed away this past Sunday. He was a wonderful man and sang in the choir there before he no longer could. My joy is the outpouring of support from family, friends, neighbors, and this wonderful community. John's life will be celebrated here on December 11th, which is Thursday at 3 p.m. for those who would like to attend his service. We'll also be putting out a Zoom link for those who can't come in person but would like to be present online. Let us be in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, thank you for holy moments when we have the opportunity to connect deeply with those we love and to abide deeply in the communities that surround and support us. Help us be mindful of the gift of patience, of actively waiting and yet at the same time gifting ourselves with the same loving kindness we would offer the world. Help us remember that we are worthy of this gift, even as we experience being consumed by all of that which takes our attention. Give us those small moments when we can pause
and remember and be, so that we can come into our life with a sense of renewed purpose, energy, and an opportunity to grow more than we ever thought was possible. Help us find those holy moments during the holidays when loving kindness reigns supreme. Amen, and blessed be. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go to the closing hymn. How's that? Because we're running a little long. And if Robin is listening, the children are welcome to come back. If you turn to 1031 in your hymnals. And please rise in body or in spirit. So we go through the first verse, and then you'll see below where it says, repeat each I with you, and then repeat each I with three. So we'll sing it through 3 times. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be well with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving Can you hum that? Elena Westbrook writes, let every moment be a prayer. With every sip of tea or coffee, let your lips move in thanksgiving. Be fully present to every stroke of the hairbrush, every cup of milk you pour your children. Be present without judgment or regret, without plans or expectations or even dreams. And every moment becomes a prayer.
As Matt plays the postlude, I invite those of you who would like to sit and listen to do so. For those who would like to retire to Fellowship Hall, especially if you have children at this moment, you're welcome to do so. We have one announcement, or we have two maybe. Go ahead. Go ahead, it's on.
I'm Anna Gregory, and...
Is this on? There you go.
I'm Anna Gregory, and I participated in the craft fair yesterday, which is very successful. If you would like to buy a raffle ticket, we have 34 raffle baskets and items that were donated by the crafters. So you can get your cash out. It's $1 per ticket or $5 for 6 tickets. So I will be in Fellowship Hall if you'd like to buy any more raffle tickets.
Hi, it's Josh. Sunday, turn up the lights. Tickets are almost sold out. If you like to food, if you like to drink, you like to dance, have to drink, not like it's not that. It's going to be a ball. Tickets are almost sold out. Links on the back.
Do it. Come on, guys.
Game night this Friday.
We're hoping to sing some winter songs and carols at 6 on Wednesday. If you'd like to join us, we're looking for a piano player. And 2 weeks from Saturday, the 20th, we're doing a Signs of Fascism Brigade. So there'll be an announcement in the message on that.
Hi, I'm Susan Crosley. Just to remind you, I will be back there if anyone wants to sign up for a poinsettia. Okay.
Okay, I'm the Vespers Tea Lady, and in the message you can sign up to help. So just look for it this week and consider helping us with the tea.
Last week I announced that I would be sharing with you ways to continue to be involved in the effort that MCAN is producing. There was a great deal of change that happened this week. What I can promise you is that next week we will have postcards. I will also be putting in the newsletter this week opportunity to sign up for a teach-in which is happening on the 11th in the evening. I hope any of you who would be interested in joining this effort will be able to sign up. It'll be a Zoom online teach-in.